Thank you so much for coming. So
thank you for inviting.
I didn't tell you what I'm up to, and so let me give you a little details on what I'm doing. So this is called the Inspiring Founders Podcast.
Okay.
And I've been interviewing inspiring founders, and I have talked with some really incredible people. And one of the things that's come up recently is sort of this difference between bootstrapped founders and venture founders. And so I thought about you because you were one of the very first founders that I met when I started the incubator here at San Jose State.
Yeah.
I remember that. And so I've been watching your adventure from the beginning and seeing how much you've grown and developed, and watching all of the new accounts that you're bringing on and watching your company grow. So that's why I wanted you to be on this podcast.
Absolutely.
So tell me, let's start off and just tell everybody, just kind of set the tone for who you are and what you do and your company, and then we'll go into some more questions about that.
Absolutely. I'm Sameer. I'm the founder and CEO of ParkStash. We have a parking management software for real estate, and our clients include apartments, student housing, mixed-use retail sites, and commercial office spaces, all the way to truck parking now. I started this company about 8 years ago after I graduated from San Jose State with my master's.
Oh, cool. So the company ParkStash didn't always start that way, though. Right?
Because
that was a piece that I was really intrigued when we first met. You had a lot of advice for new founders, but tell me sort of the genesis of ParkStash, kind of how it came about and what your first initial thought was, your initial idea.
Yeah. Well, how it came about was when I was a student here at San Jose State, and it was really crazy finding parking when you came here. Even today when I came here, it has been still crazy. So,
yeah, I know.
So I thought of ideas on how to actually bring up a solution now that I need. And so as I was walking down the driveways, I found that, hey, maybe these people can rent out those spaces and we have like an Airbnb of parking model. That was the first idea that we came up with for ParkStash, and we launched that when I was a student here. Mm-hmm. But since then, we have gone through multiple pivots across our journey. So now we are completely different. We don't do that idea anymore. It's a completely new platform, and even our clients have changed. It's more B2B now.
So having run the incubator for 3 years and seen thousands of founders come through, the parking problem is like such a common student. Like almost every student that comes in, not everyone, but a lot of them, they're like, I'm going to solve the parking problem. We're going to have the Airbnb of parking. They last about 3 months trying to figure it out, and then they disappear and we never hear from them again. So it's a problem everybody knows, but it's also something everybody tries to solve, but they can't solve it. So what's the problem? Why can't they solve that?
Well, first of all, with the consumer-based model, you need to have enough supply. So when we were building our platform, you got to find those spaces nearby where people want it, right? It's really easy to think that there's so much demand, but how are you going to fill that demand? That's the main problem. And every student comes up with ideas. People have come up with Airbnb of parking ideas as well, but with consumer-based businesses, it's really hard to bring the revenue up very quickly. So unless we had a lot of supply everywhere we were serving, we couldn't just bring that model up. So
the market. So you're a two-sided marketplace in that
scenario, yes.
You have to get both the owners and the consumers.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
So it was hard, and we first started with like stadiums. The problem was there we'll make revenue only in seasonality when there are events. Then we came back to university. But if you have to find spaces within 2 minutes walking distance, because nobody wants to walk more than 2 minutes, I don't know why, but everybody wants parking spaces close to their destination. There's not much supply here, so we tried it for a few times. We had some great partnerships as well. But with bootstrapping, right, the revenue has to come, and it was just not coming for us.
So before we jump over to bootstrapping, I want to stick with this sort of perseverance that I've seen in you that's different from a lot of founders. And I interview a lot of founders, and I've talked with, like I said, thousands of founders. And one of the qualities that I've seen in you that's different than a lot of people is this perseverance, like your willingness to stick it out and to continue to push and listen and pivot and push and listen and suffer and all those other things. What is it? Is that a skill you've always just had your whole life? Is it something you had to learn in order to survive, or like, where did that come from? How come you're so unique in being able to do that?
I don't know how it came from, but I remember even during my school years, I always used to participate in all these competitions for debating and small entrepreneurships, right? I think that just taught me a lot. Many times we just couldn't build a product or we would fail those competitions, but we just kept going, right? I kind of have this ability where I see a roadblock, right? And believe me, there have been many times when we decided that, hey, ParkStash is not going to work out, let's just shut it down. But you have to see beyond that. If you continue working and if you find some solution, some market where that need might be fulfilled, I just go head on that.
Yeah.
And once I start something, I just continue doing it. And that's just a quality that I have developed over the years now.
Yeah, yeah. So that's a lot easier if somebody's giving you a whole bunch of money.
Exactly. Yeah,
but
exactly.
Now let's shift a tiny little bit to this whole bootstrapping idea. Most founders that come through, and I talk to them, they start with the problem they think is they need money.
Yeah.
They almost always are like, Mash, I need money. I need money. And like, no, you don't. You need a business. You need something. You need traction. You need something. I'm always telling them. And then I realize like it's not my place to tell them what they need, whatever.
Yeah.
But you didn't actually get big funding, right? You got some angel investment or friends and family or something like that. But then like, how long did that last before you started to think, man, this is going to be hard?
Well, the angel investment lasted about 3-4 months. I think that's pretty much it. Yeah. And even when we started, I did like a internship for about 9 months. So I had some like money saved from that. That's what I invested into the company. And then we were winning like small competitions here and then, $5,000, and that's how we funded our initial marketing. But it's insanely hard to actually continue doing that unless you hit that point where there is some cash flow coming into your company. That's the hardest part about bootstrapping. But, I got some, we always find people coming and telling me, I got this idea and, I just need funding for it. I was like, okay, who did you talk to and how big a need this is? And they say, I don't know yet, but I need money.
I know.
So, why would I invest in you if you have no proof that this is going to be used by someone?
Yeah.
And so that's my idea behind bootstrapping, When it comes to VC, it's great. I'm not against it. But if you need like a hardware startup, you're building a med tech company, there's a lot of research involved, you definitely need money. But if it's a software and you're not talking to any customers, you're not showing me revenue, then why do you need money right now?
Yeah. Especially today with AI and with the internet, and there's so much access to information. It's almost like you can do a lot before you need significant money.
Yeah.
But did you choose to go with bootstrapping, or did you try to get venture funding or anything first? Like, what was the turning point for you where you decided, no, we're going to stick with bootstrapping, we're going to try and fund this ourselves and build kind of slowly? Or
yeah, honestly, we tried to raise money after the angel investment, and there was a point where I tried a lot. I think I spent about 6 to 8 months just raising money. Now that time spent on building company and selling to customers was lost, right? So at that point I decided, okay, even investors want to see proof.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to give you money like that.
Yep.
So that was my turning point. I decided that, okay, if I don't bring a revenue at some point to this value, I'm not going to go ahead and raise money.
Yeah.
So I just decided, let's just continue bootstrapping. But now we came to a point that we don't need money.
Yeah.
So
that's the interesting with bootstrapping. So your challenge as a founder is to prove that you're investable.
Yeah.
But once you get to that point, you reevaluate everything and you're like, do I really need to take money? Like, do you need to, what would be a reason why you think you would need to take like venture investment? Like maybe someone could come in and say, Sameer, we love what you're doing. We like where you're going. We want to give you $2-3 million to grow. When would that be something interesting other than I love money? But when would you say, I'm willing to give some equity up so that I can have this cash, so that I can accomplish something maybe that you can't do right now?
Yeah. That's a good question. So the first thing that comes to my mind is even right now, I watch where every cent is going. So if somebody comes to me and gives me 3 million, I need to have a real roadmap on where I'm going to spend that money, because it's someone else's money. Maybe it's not mine, but I need to be accountable and tell them that, hey, this is where we are going to go with this amount of money that you're going to give us.
Yeah.
So if I had to expand to like really new markets or create like products with hardware that we would need, yes, I would accept that money and give them a roadmap that this is how I'm going to use it.
One of the things you and I talked about early on, this was sort of as you were transitioning into this new market that you were entering into, you wanted help building out kind of a sales team.
Yeah.
And as the founder of a company, I know it's hard because you're doing everything. You know, you have a co-founder as well who's amazing. I met him; he's fantastic. But you have to do everything. So maybe you were thinking like, I could use some help with sales. But I think you shifted kind of like your perspective on that. You became sort of like your number one salesperson, but I think you had to. Right? What was the? How did that work out?
So I'm kind of a very detailed person into everything I do. So I wanted to do the sales myself, and I wanted to make sure that I know what it takes to sell to maybe like 100 clients first, and then bring on someone and then tell them that, hey, this is what we need to do. So that's why I decided that, okay, Sameer, just take this upon you. You're going to bring your company to the 100 clients, and after that, if you want to build your sales team, then that's delegation, and I'm okay with that. So I just wanted to do it first myself and experience that process.
But by doing it, it actually helped you to focus better. Is that right? So something happened, because I see these LinkedIn posts all the time. You're expanding like crazy. You're getting into new accounts. You're getting into big accounts where maybe they're not just one seat, but they're multiple properties. So because you're the founder and because you were out there doing the work, did it actually enable you to be much more creative with your business? Or what was
Absolutely. I think what it did was it gave me one-on-one with my customers and my clients. I think when I started hearing from them how they see our product being used in their communities, it just had a drastic effect on me. And I was like, okay, you know what? This actually Enforcer app is being used like every 2 minutes in this community, and we need to do so much more to actually help that. And once I started getting all that feedback, I was like, okay, you know what? This relationship that I'm building, it's going to multiply a lot. And, execution relationships, like I said, has brought our company to a point where, we won't need funding, and we are just happy growing ourselves. That's where we have gotten.
I saw you went on like a road trip or something, and you went out and met customers all over the U.S. And I saw some of those videos, and what I got from watching those videos is that you actually really care about these people. They're not just like a number that's coming through your...
Exactly.
You actually were talking to them about what their challenges were, their lives, the things that they're doing. Well, first of all, let's talk to the other founders who are going to be watching the video, hopefully. Is like, what part of that is important to founders? What part of that is sort of necessary, maybe unnecessary? Going out and meeting people and discovering who they really are versus, trying to pack the funnel.
It's really important to have authentic relationships with your clients, right? At some point, you have to think that, okay, my business is, just making me money, or is it actually really impacting the ones I'm serving? You can only know that once you get to meet them and you develop a great relationship with them. And so when I actually went out there, met with like 8-10 property managers who have been using our system from the beginning, and just not talking about our business, just understanding how they are as a person, I think that has a huge effect in how your business grows, because in today's world you can't really know what's authentic and what's not authentic. Nobody knows, right? People are creating apps within 2 days. I don't know how that works. But you can't really sell it that way, especially for B2B clients. You need to know what they want, and you need to understand them as a person. And when I was talking, I recently talked to a regional manager about 3 days ago on phone call, and she was like, we have been phenomenal to work with, and they only want to work with people who are willing to just listen and talk to them and build some great relationships. And when you hear that from a client, you know that you have done something great.
That's awesome. When I talk with founders, they come to me and they say, Mash, what's first? They say, I got this technology, or I got this app, or this idea, or I need some money, or whatever, and I tell them, you need to fall in love with somebody first.
Yeah.
You actually need to care enough about some person, target, market, whatever. You have to fall in love with the person first.
Yeah.
And then through that, you will start to understand them more enough that you will want to do something to help them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
As opposed to like, I invented this really great, or figured out how AI is going to do this.
Yeah.
Now you're going around trying to like say, hey, I can help you. But they don't, they're like,
that's a great example, So when we met with these property managers, I basically saw how much things they are juggling in their life already, even with that role. And now you're bringing something on top to sell them that, hey, this is how we are going to do parking. And obviously it's going to help them reduce their time. But you got to understand what their life looks like before even you sell the product, right? So you just need to go and understand the market and the customer first.
Yeah.
And then say, oh, you know what, pay me $200 for my product.
Yeah, but you didn't start there though. You did start with a technology, because I remember your pitch. Your pitch was something like, look, I have so much demand, I broke the server.
Yeah.
I need to build this. I have to build it, right? It was something like that. So you did have technology. You did kind of have something that you started with.
Yeah.
But when did the transition happen when you said, I need to actually care more about the people and the customers than I do about this darn software I'm building?
Well, you could have the most excellent product, and you could have great demand, but as I said, like, until a person tells you that okay, you're authentic and they really love your product, servers crashing wouldn't matter. If the servers crash, maybe next day we would hear that they want to cancel the contract or something, right? But there have been times where we had bugs in our product, and customers tell us about those bugs themselves, and it's not like, oh, you know what, this is bad or something, but hey, can you just fix this up for us? So that's the kind of commitment you need from your clients. And I just started focusing on that more rather than just going all on product.
Yeah.
It would never work out for us if we build it that way. And now my entire team knows that. Nobody gives me an idea and says, I want to build this because I think this is good. No, if you think this is good, we're not going to build it. Let my customer tell me that this is great.
Even AI, no one's coming to you going, man, we got to make agents and assistants and voice, and nobody.
Believe me, my co-founder is crazy about AI. I have to tell him that, look, just having AI wouldn't solve this, But I can tell you, it has reduced our development time by almost 30-40%, which is great. But you need experience to help, to have AI help you.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's going to spit out code that nobody understands, and it's going to break your entire product.
On that topic, I'm going to shift just a tiny little bit before we get back to bootstrapping, because I think what you're talking about is really important, not just for founders, people who want to start companies, but for everyone who's an early career, university student going out into the workforce, maybe just getting started. And that's this idea that AI is going to replace them.
Yeah.
Or it's going to make it so they're that they can't get jobs in the future.
Yeah.
And so, can you talk a little bit about sort of like what do you see happening with AI? I know it helps a lot. Like I use AI. I know almost everybody uses it to help them do things better, cheaper, faster. But for somebody who's really worried about the future, maybe they're not going to be a founder or an entrepreneur. Maybe they're actually just a graduating student who's going to go in the world.
Yeah.
How can they look at the world and AI in a way that is not full of fear, but maybe full of opportunity?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see it as a fear at all for me. Like, I think what it helps me do is I have these original ideas about marketing and sales. And when I discuss those ideas with, AI, then it helps me bring me more ideas on how I can sell this product. So it's not about, it's going to take my job. It's going to be about how it's going to help me expand my sales and marketing channels more. It's the same for technical development. I would say, though, that, for people who are just graduating, especially on the technical side, they need to work a lot more to understand how AI actually works. They need to have some solid background on their technical expertise. and that's when AI is going to help them. So if you are just sitting out there and telling that, okay, I will build an app for me, it's not going to work out. It's never going to work out, not even in your job. Even in job, people are using AI just as someone that can, increase the productivity, and that is great. But it's not going to replace you if you have your originality and expertise.
Yeah. I had an experience working with GitHub Copilot.
Yeah.
And I built a really complex app and everything, but I needed this just by myself. But I launched Copilot and I said, I need your help building out a function. I'm not quite sure how I want to architect this function. Blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And it wrote the function for me, and I thought, well, that's really cool. It works. But then I said, I don't understand why you did it that way. Can you explain it to me?
Yeah.
And it was so cool to be able to interact with it in a way where you were asking more human questions that were going to make me better and smarter. It's great. It can write the function and do it, but being able to then say, why'd you make that choice?
Yeah.
I think I would have done it this way, and it comes back and it says, that's legit.
Exactly.
We can do this, and you go, okay, well, if I did this, then would that be this? And you can have this interaction, and that's what you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Not just like Lovable, where you're just like vibe coding something and you don't know what in the world it produced.
I think it's a major drawback of having non-expertise people just spit out apps because, there have been many examples already where people's data has been leaked online because nobody understands how the database was set up.
Yeah.
There's going to be, I think, a bunch of cybersecurity startups coming up very soon to solve all these issues because every technology creates more technology startups to solve the issues that it brings.
Yep.
But we have to be careful on how we use how we use the AI, and we have to understand what it actually gave as a response.
Yeah. Well, let's get back to bootstrapping because this, I think, is an important point for founders.
Yeah.
Everybody has to bootstrap when they start.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what friends and family is. Like, if you can't afford it yourself, then, maybe try and find friends and family.
Yeah.
One of the problems with a lot of founders that come through San Jose State University or in the, communities where I live, where, we don't have generational wealth and things, it's hard to get friends and family to help you. Yeah. And so people struggle. They'll work 1, 2, 3 jobs just to make it, and they'll bootstrap themselves for this little time. But you made a decision that you were going to suffer. I'm sure you suffered.
Yeah.
You have a wife. I'm sure your wife wasn't happy, right? I'm sure there's like a moment where you guys sat down together and you said, I will do this for another 3 weeks, and then if it doesn't work, I'm gonna. You had those conversations?
Yeah, she set a timeline for me during COVID. She said, it's going to be 6 months, Sameer, and if it doesn't work out, then we'll have to think of something else. I think I thank her for that because that actually put more and more pressure on me to do something and bring us money. But it's a huge suffering, and as you said, there's a lot of perseverance that goes through in this, and you got to have the right people with you who continuously push you and support you in those very dark times.
Yep.
So, and that's just the truth of bootstrapping.
There are companies, and I know some B2B SaaS companies and some B2B companies that bootstrap to $1 million, 10 million, annual recurring revenue. Like, it's not impossible. It happens often.
Yeah.
And they, are so glad that they didn't take venture investment. They don't have a whole, bunch of people looking at their stuff all the time. Like, that they really like it. Is this?
And that's the pros, right? I didn't discuss about the pros of bootstrapping, but you have so much freedom, right? You are not governed by returning or making products that return investor money. You are governed by products that you build for your customers and give them back money, not to your investors, right? And so many times company would pivot just because, they are not getting the returns as they promised to their investors.
Yeah.
With bootstrapping, you have freedom, right? We changed our company's trajectory in within 2 months. Nobody was going to tell us that, hey, what you're doing is not right. You should do this, that. We don't care. We control our own product. Yeah. And we are our own destiny, I would say. So that is great. I always wanted that freedom. That's why I got into entrepreneurship, right? Yeah. I just don't work well if people tell me that, this is not what I want you to do. Even though I could see the proof that this is going to work, right? Yeah. So that's the freedom that brought us. And of course, we have ownership of the company. our employees are very happy. Whatever we make, we distribute to our employees. I mean, it's a great life after you come to a specific
Okay,
point.
but it's not always like that. It's not always. So you got to tell us a few stories about the challenging times. Like, when were some moments when you just thought, "What am I doing? What in the world am I getting myself into?"
Yeah, I think it was back in 2020 when our company was still doing the B2C model. We had some great partnerships with event centers, universities, and then came COVID, right?
Yeah. Yeah, nobody's parking, right?
Nobody's parking, right? I mean, our revenue was zero. Literally, I'm saying it was zero. The bank balance was zero. Now, how are you going to tell your team that they're not going to be, paid for, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 months until we figure something out? That's just crazy timeline. I just couldn't imagine that we would go through on what we went through. We lost a few people, I think, during that time, yes. But yeah, it's crazy.
That's unexpected. That's an unexpected, thing that happened in the world. But there are things that people go through where they're expected, right? I mean, like,
they're expected,
everybody suffered in COVID, and you're lucky you made it through. I guess it's not lucky. You made it through. But there are founders who are going to try the bootstrapping thing, and they're going to face these sort of questions like, how do you tell people that they can't get paid for 3 months? Like, what did you do? Did you just say, guys, we don't have money, you can't get paid for,
We had to say that. We had to say that we don't have any money. I think, my wife supported a bit some of the employees. We were paying out of pocket and we didn't take any salary. Of course, I didn't take any salary for, I think, 2-3 years when we started the company. So you have to make those decisions, but what it teaches you is how to survive in adverse conditions. I think survival is a skill that not many people are learning right now. They don't know how to stay frugal and survive in those adverse situations. So that's what it taught us. And everybody's salary was reduced, everybody was suffering, but you then find out who within your team is going for the long run. And the people who stayed during those times are with us today.
Nice.
And so
that goes back to that workforce transformation thing I was talking about, and the new skills people need to have with this world of AI and everything. I don't want to say people need to know how to suffer. Like, we know how to suffer, but people need to learn how to persevere, right?
Exactly.
Through adversity. They need to learn how to be flexible and agile. Right? They can't wait around for directions on how to do stuff. They need to come up with ideas and need to find ways to innovate. So they kind of have to be entrepreneurs inside their jobs.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah, that's a great point. You have to be completely flexible, I think, and adaptable, even in your jobs. I think whenever something like this happens, you have to always make a point that you're going to figure something out for yourself. And when you're hit with situations like, there's no revenue, or, you're not going to be able to pay someone, you find out all these, I say hacks, you find out all these hacks on how to survive, right? Maybe, at one point we were selling sandwiches, I think, at university.
I love it.
Yeah, we made $100, I think. So you got to find all those things to survive. But that's a skill that you'll carry on for your life. So I think it's great.
That reminds me of something else I know about you that I think is a skill that every founder needs, and most founders are deathly afraid of it, and that's sales. You from the very beginning, you always would say, go try to sell it. Go sell it. Don't do anything else. Don't stop building and writing and doing all that. Go sell it. And then you will know. You'll learn, right? And so you've always had that sort of initiative. Like, get out and go sell it. If you can sell it, you're gonna figure something out.
Because what's gonna do, anyways, you're just gonna hear a no. You're gonna learn to face rejections. I think that's a great skill. Now I don't fear anything, right? Okay, the person said no, great. Let's move on. They don't, maybe it's not the right fit for them. So you don't need to feel bad about it, right? But you're gonna go out and get that thing out of you that I have to talk to people. You have to, and many things are virtual now. People are not able to talk to themselves face to face, with other people. But you have to go out there and try that.
They're deathly afraid of it.
Exactly.
I don't know if it's generational or what, but they are inventing startups to use AI to simulate customers so they don't have to go talk to customers. They don't have to do any market research or talk to customers. They want AI to simulate the customer response so that they can come to product market fit without ever having talked to a customer. And I'm like, God, you were so scared. Come
Who's
on,
buying
guys.
that? Oh my God.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. No, that's going to work out. I don't know how it's going to work out. That's crazy. You know, now I bring my technical team on my sales calls because, you know, once you bring them into the sales calls, right, they realize that, hey, you know, it's not easy to sell. You know, it's not easy to code. It's not easy to sell. It's the same thing. And then when, you know, one of my team members was asking, you know, I don't want to build this product because I told him, like, we do need this because this customer asked me, you know. So he said, I don't want any. I put him a call with the client. And the first thing she asked was, why can't I download these reports from the dashboard? I was like, oh, shit. I told her, you know, talk to this guy. He's responsible for it.
Oh, no way. He didn't want to do it at first?
You know, he didn't want to do it. He thought that, you know, this is not what people want.
Yeah.
So you cannot have that ideology in a startup, right? You know, there's this person who's selling, and if he says that this is what they want, this is what they want.
Yeah. Wow.
I'm not telling you how you should code because, you know, that's your job.
Yeah.
So you have to do the same thing when someone tells you.
That's
for sales.
Sensitive topics between the salespeople and the developers. Because the salespeople are always promising everything, and the developer, the engineer's like, oh God, what do I have to build?
This guy too.
That's how the Clippy ended up happening in Microsoft, right? That somebody was like, you got to make a paperclip. Oh my God. Okay, let's end with some real concrete tips that you could give to some new founders. So the people who are watching this potentially are new founders, you know, often early career professionals who are going to, you know, they're looking for a job or they're thinking about the hustle. Like we have a generation of hustle, you know, culture, like literally because of, you know, because of COVID or because of, you know, the things that have been happening in the technology space. And we have some really like innovative entrepreneurial people. Yeah. But most of them, like I said, often think that money's the problem. Yeah. They start kind of there. And then other ones are enamored with technology to where they love it so much that they want to just make cool stuff. Yeah. But there's that missing link maybe with customers. So what would you say, maybe your top 3 tips that you would give to a new founder who's thinking about, you know, bootstrapping a startup, trying to get something going? Yeah.
You know, the first thing I would say is that hustle is great, but hustle needs to come with focus, right? I mean, there's so many distractions nowadays that you're really not focusing on what you should be doing. So, you know, when I'm doing sales or when I'm doing marketing and everything, that's just single line focus that I have to do this at this point and I won't do anything else until I finish this. So your hustle can be great. If you're hustling about, you know, going and talking with customers, you just need to keep doing that for like a month and then figure out what to do next. Okay. Yeah. If you get distracted in between, it's not going to work out.
That's like I don't want to say it's like ADHD, but it's kind of like the switching cost.
It's switching,
right? Switch, and then you kind of lose.
You know, I would say, you know, people say multitasking is great, but, you know, I'm not a good multitasker. I never have been. You know, if I start doing something, maybe I can handle 2 tasks at a time. But if I go beyond that, then I just mess everything up. I think it works out well for me because the final product that I deliver, whether it be marketing, sales, or product design, is just something that will work, right? So I think the focus needs to be there for everyone.
Yeah. My friend told me one time that when you multiply fractions, they just get smaller. And I was like, oh my God, that makes total sense. You know, the more things you have that are fractional, the more, you know, the smaller they get. Nothing gets any better. So the focus is important. Okay, that's one. So what's the second one?
The second point you raised about, you know, someone who does not have generational wealth or anything. So they're bootstrapping, they don't have money. You know, that's another problem to solve, which is a great problem, is you don't have money, right? So we didn't have money for a long time. And at that moment, you have to try out different ways that you can get the money as fast as possible. And it's going to push you so hard. You're just going to try out some crazy hacks and things that is going to make you to either sell the product or pivot your company to a different direction.
Yeah.
Even the same for if you're applying for jobs, right? You are probably getting like 100 or 150 rejections. So maybe you have to try out something different that works out well. Maybe develop a skill set that's really in a lot of need right now. Mm-hmm. Maybe you didn't learn that for the last 4 years in your college degree, but that is what the world wants right now, and you have to do that.
Yeah.
So always be flexible and go the extra mile when you have to do something to get that money, right?
My brother told me one time, he said, never decline money. And I was like, well, what do you mean? He said, people are going to come to you and they're going to say something like you said, like, I need somebody to program this for me.
Yeah.
And, I'm willing to give them some money. And you don't look at them and go, that's not me.
Exactly.
You go, oh yeah, I'll take that money. Okay, now go figure it out. Right? And so it's a kind of a different perspective, mindset, like, don't tell them what they need. Take what they want to give you and then figure out how to help them and move into that, kind of.
That's like our first sale when we pivoted. We didn't have a product, we had a slide deck. And they gave us money to build it.
Wow.
So that's how we sold our first pivot to the B2B market.
That's actually a really good tip.
Yeah.
So if you don't have money to bootstrap, you don't have generational wealth, but you do have something a customer really wants.
Yeah.
You could negotiate some way to get money up front.
Exactly.
And build that thing for them.
Yeah.
And then maybe continue to work on it with them, right?
Yeah. And I was talking to one of the advisors, and he was telling me that is how companies used to build products like 2-3 decades ago, before all this VC and the flood of money came in. Customers would pay you money to build the products that they want, and that's the gist of like bootstrapping, right? You have to tell them that this is what we can build and this is what you need, and then that's the money coming to you now.
Yeah, that's the bootstrap analogy is hilarious because it literally means that you're trying to lift yourself up in the air by your bootstraps, which is impossible, right? It's impossible. So
I didn't think about that.
you are literally trying to do something impossible. So, congratulations that you made it through. So number 3, what's the third thing you'd tell somebody?
The third one would be, I don't want to sound cliche, but don't fear rejections. I think rejections, for the most of it, helped me a lot. I mean, I was like, when we used to knock on doors, I think there were days like when not even one person would tell us. People literally told us to go away and not come back again.
I can imagine.
And so, would I have stopped like the company at that moment, I would not be where I am today. So, if you have rejection, that just means that you need to do something different. That's all that means.
Learning. It's a learning opportunity.
Yeah, it's a learning opportunity. So,
I hate rejection. I hate it when people tell me, not. You know what? It's not no. I don't mind if someone says no.
Yeah.
What I don't like is when they say, "That's stupid," or "That's a bad idea." Like that. That hurts,
that hurts a lot. Yeah. I mean, I have read emails where they say stop and don't ever contact me again. Things like that. It's like, okay, I mean, the person is going through a different phase. They don't want to reply the way you want to.
Yeah.
It could just be a no, right? But sometimes people will be that kind of a rude.
Man, and I mean, there's a ton. So that's the top 3. I love it. Those are fantastic. I would add in the perseverance one. Just like you guys are going to start. And you're going to want to quit many, many times.
Yeah.
But the people who ultimately end up on this podcast, or people who are inspiring founders who've made it, they didn't quit. So I would add that one piece for me. And then there's 100 books that people should read, of course, right?
Yeah. That last point, I think my wife was telling me yesterday that, all the stories that finally come up is for people who didn't give up and got to a point. That's how they got into these stories and podcasts. So I think, there's no way out of it.
No.
You just have to keep trying.
And that even the people who you hear about who were like instant success, you have to look back at their prior 10 years.
They won't tell you that.
They go, my instant success took 10 years or whatever. So
any good company would take a decade to build. I can definitely say that. Any good company. I wouldn't say companies who get to 2 million and then fire all the employees the next year because nothing's working out after that. But any sustainable good company would take a decade to build.
Yeah. All right, Sameer, thank you
Yeah.
so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Bash. Thank you.
Congratulations and good luck with everything going forward.